Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast. We're talking last week's games, international break, and a little bit of update on our resident clubs. That's right, all the football that you could possibly want in one football podcast. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And get this podcast out into the world. That's the big one. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, football podcast.
Recording in progress.
Welcome along, ladies and gents. Those words that you hear so frequently and fondly are back again for another week. It is, of course, your CookieCast Podcast Network football update for the week. Brought to you by my good self, Mr. Andrew Cook, Mr. Stuart Woodmansey and Mr. Matthew Moore. Bringing you fantastical news from Hull City, Middlesbrough, Nottingham Forest, and who could it be this week? Obviously, we'll find out in due course. How are you boys doing? Any big news or anything you need to share with the group?
All steady away. Just counting down the days until the busy festive period of football fixtures. Obviously, not actual festive stuff.
Okay. Thanksgiving?
I mean, that's a very different podcast than just another weekend for me to get stuffed at fantasy. So,
Well, get stuffed in some way, shape, or form if it's Thanksgiving. Anyway, wrong shaped ball. This is the round ball we're going to talk about this week, not the egg shaped one. And we'll start with Week 15's games that have just occurred. So, our first game of Week 15 saw Hull City take on Huddersfield Town. Yet another occasion of you being in person, I believe, Mr. Woodmansey.
Aye, it was a home game, so we were there. The full Woodmansey contingent with Mr. Walker and Little List as well. Although not so Little List now these days. But yeah, Yorkshire Derby. Our first one of the season, because we missed the Sheff Wednesday game. But yeah, Hull absolutely dominated the ball, but had very little impact going forward. There was a spell at the end of the first half where their keeper made a couple of saves from like a couple of shots outside the box, grazed the edge of the left-hand post with a shot, but nothing really that special. For all of the passing that Hull sort of, built into their game these days, would it really hurt for a few more of them to be just forwards? Is kind of my question. The goal, there was a goal, was well taken, but we had to wait until the 92nd minute. It was Delap on the half volley into the bottom right hand corner. To this point in the game, Hull had 20 shots, 5 of which were on target. Huddersfield had 2 shots, only 1 of which was on target. The possession stats were probably some of the highest I've ever seen for a Hull game, in the sense of Hull had 76% possession. And because I was that bored after watching it, I even looked at the passing stats, and Hull had 753 completed passes to Huddersfield's 240. So like 3 times as many passes, which is just like, yeah.
The best thing about that is that Colin's not even in charge of that club anymore.
Well, new manager bounce has not really happened for them, has it? Because obviously they put Darren Moore in, and they've not. Huddersfield didn't have anything at all other than, I don't know if you've seen him. They've got a striker called Hudlin.
Oh, he's 6'9", I think.
he would be better suited playing basketball. He is huge.
No, I think he's officially the tallest outfield player to ever play in the English league. So he's the same height as. Do you remember there was a keeper who played for Man City and Sunderland called Costel Pantelimon?
Yeah.
He was massive. I think he was on loan at Forest for a while, wasn't he? Maybe.
Yeah, he was.
Absolutely massive. He's the same height as him, and I think them two are officially the tallest people to ever play professionally in England.
Well, Huddersfield, right off the bat, lined up 4-5-1, and you were like, well, we know where this is going. And so, not only did everybody sat in the stands know where it was going, everybody on the pitch thankfully knew where it was going, and that's the only plan they had, was just to lump it up forward to the big guy. And City just dealt with it. It might as well have been a training game for them, to be honest, the amount of passing and stuff that was going on. And it feels weird to say that. I just wish we had a bit more going forwards. But yeah, ultimately, the goal probably masks a few problems there. But it was a 1-0 win with Delap scoring the goal.
Very nice. Obviously, like you say, you had to wait for a while for the goal to come through. But when it does, obviously, it's one of those games where as it ticks over to 90 minutes, you're thinking, can't believe we wasted an afternoon coming to watch that. And then obviously when the last minute winner gets slammed in, that all changes, and you forget the dross that you watched for the 90 minutes before that, and all it's replaced with ecstasy, shall we say?
Dross is probably too strong, because at least they're playing football. I mean, God, years ago it would have just been head tennis for the entire match. So I mean, in that regard, I really shouldn't complain too much. But Rosenior has got him playing, but does it come from the fact that he was a defender all of his career? Like the premise is, granted, if you've got hold of the ball, the opposition can't score, but you still need to have some impetus going forward, otherwise you're never going to win a game. But patience paid off, I guess, in the end. So It's one of them ones where nobody will remember the game, but everybody will just remember we got the points. So
yeah, you mentioned something that I've always found a bit interesting. This you said obviously that Rosenior being a defender, maybe that might influence his his managerial style from an attacking sense and stuff like that. I've always kind of wondered if defenders would make the best striking coaches and vice versa. Because obviously you can tell, so say if you were a defender, you can tell strikers what you hated to play against and coach them to do that sort of thing. Like just a thought. I've thought it for a while, to be fair, and it's just you never really sort of see it. So obviously there's a reason why that's not the case.
Yeah.
But it's just something I've always thought would be interesting to sort of ask.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. It's it's logical.
Yeah, I suppose the argument being is obviously when you stop playing, then the game itself sort of moves on, and what you found difficult as a defender might be what the next sort of generation finds easier. So I don't know. It's always going to be sort of you're always going to get ups and downs and stuff like that.
From Rosenior's sort of point, though, he stopped playing, but he's never really been out of the game, has he? Because the second that he stopped, he was like an assistant or like a youth team coach, whatever. He's never had an extended period away, so he's still in managerial terms a very young guy. Like he's got a long way to go yet. And we did actually tick over. I think was it last podcast. It was like a year since he took over at City. So it's he's doing something right because he's kept his job all that time and he's not going anywhere anytime soon.
No, I think it's actually about. It must have been within a week or two of each other, but obviously, Carrick's been in charge of the borough for just over a year now as well. So we didn't even cover that on the podcast that they've both been in charge for about a year as well. Predictions wise, we all got points on this one as we all had varying degrees of Hull City wins. I had a 2-0 with Twine and Syed Manesh to score, so no goal scorer points, just the correct result score for me. Stuart gone for a 2-1 with Delap and Christie and Wiles to score for Huddersfield Town, so gets himself 2 points for the result and the Delap goal. Matt had gone for 3-1 with Delap, Connolly, Slater and Hellick to score for Huddersfield, so again gets himself a bonus point for the goal scorer. Mr. Cook had guessed 1-0 Hull City with Delap to score the goal. So I've done the disservice there of not just giving him 3 points. I've decided to double his points because he got that exactly spot on. So I've given Andy 6 points for that particular game.
I can only presume those 6 points affect this week's scoring, not one jot.
Well, we'll see. We'll see when it comes to the end. So that's after your first game. Myself 1 point, Stuart Matt 2 points, Andy on a whopping 6 points. Our second game of the week takes us to T-Siders, where Middlesbrough take on Leicester City, and that is a Leicester City team that is leading the Championship, no less. However, they were coming off the back of only their second loss of the season to a team that we don't even need to talk about from West Yorkshire. It's a game that sort of, I think a lot of people had down as a tight contest. I think a lot of people thought that Leicester would find it tough against the Michael Carrick team, but would probably bounce back. And from the sort of the clips, unfortunately I didn't go to the game, but from the clips that I saw, it sounded like the first half was mainly all Leicester. They had a couple of opportunities to score, a couple of good saves from the goalkeeper, a couple of ones just flashed wide. The best chance looked like it fell to Kieran Dewsbury Hall, who drew a good save from Senny Dieng. Borough themselves had chances to score in the first half. I seem to remember a Matt Crooks effort after having to be palmed around the post. But it was 0-0 at half time. Carried on in a similar vein in the second half. Borough almost had changed their approach from a front foot, being on the front foot and pressing, passing, and trying to sort of pin the team in. And they'd almost taken the approach of they'd let Leicester have the ball and try and counter attack. And it obviously seemed to work. Leicester had a couple more chances in the second half. They had one cleared off the line. There was a chance where Iheanacho hit the post. The ball just rebounded straight into Senny Dieng's gloves. But the game itself was won 83rd minute with what can only be described as an absolute peach of a free kick from 25 yards out by Sam Greenwood. Very much looking like the bargain loan player of the season. And it's there's been reports that have been going around that apparently in the terms of the loan agreement is that it can be turned into a permanent for as little as £1.5 million, which, given the fact that he's got at least sort of like 2 or 3 goals already in the games that he's played, I would be very surprised if they don't look at least inquiring about making that a permanent in the January transfer window. Because if he scores more, I would imagine he will have suitors from potentially lower Premier League level clubs or certainly high-end Championship clubs for the second half of the season.
That free kick wasn't just a peach, as you described it. It was an absolute rocket as well.
Oh, yeah. One of those efforts that seems to pick up speed as it hit the net, which is a bit of a strange one because obviously normally they're either just floated over the wall and just sort of beat the keeper. But that one, he'd give it some welling to say that it smashed into the top corner. The keeper had no chance with it. It was past him before he could move. To be fair, from a predictions perspective, only one person had the confidence to put Borough down for a win, and it was, of course, the podcast's own Captain Positivity himself, Mr. Andrew Cook, had gone for a 2-1 Middlesbrough win Sadly, didn't have Greenwood down as a goal scorer, so just gets the point for the result. Stuart gone for a 2-0 Leicester win. Dewsbury Hall and Mavadidi to score, so obviously he was very disappointed with Seny Dieng saving Keenan Dewsbury Hall's effort in the first half. I had gone for a 2-1 Leicester win. Coburn to score for the Borough, Mavadidi and Iheanacho to score for Leicester, so I was obviously annoyed when he hit the post, but obviously not really, because I'd much prefer to have the 3 points. Matt had gone also for a 2-1 Leicester win. Iheanacho and McAteer to score for Leicester, and Greenwood to score for the Borough, so bags himself a little bonus goal scorer point there. So just Matt and Andy getting on the board in that game. Our third game of the week saw Andy's latest squeeze of Wigan Athletic in taking the field away at Cheltenham Town. This one petered out to a 1-1 draw with Circum scoring for Cheltenham. Showed some precision there, old Circum. And Freestone with an own goal for Wigan to make the game 1-1. Predictions-wise, I'd gone for a thumping 3-0 Wigan win. Didn't pick any of the goal scorers, as obviously Freestone plays for Cheltenham. Matt had gone for a 2-1 Wigan win. Sadly, again, did not pick either Circum or Freestone with the goals. Mr. Cook, however, had gone for a 1-0 Cheltenham win, with Goodwin to score. No points there. Mr. Stuart Woodmansey, however, had gone for a 1-1 draw in this. Goodwin and Adiko to get the goal. So no goal scoring bonus, but does get 2 points for the correct score. Well played to you, sir. Our next game of the week saw West Ham United taking on Nottingham Forest. This one was live on Sky. I believe you may have even had the opportunity to see part of this, Mr. Moore. Is that correct?
You can watch it on your. You can watch the goals on your phone live if you're a Sky customer.
I see.
So it gives you a nice little. I missed the start, but kindly my phone had its notifications on, and it's Paqueta scores after horrendous Dominguez pass, and I was like, oh, error. I was like, wonderful, what a fantastic start. So yes, Forest made the journey down to West Ham. Should have thought about this last week. I read in the report, it's the first time that West Ham have won since the 30th of September. So we should have marked that one down as if your club ever needs to get itself out of a rut, send one of our clubs down to help that help kind of grease that wheel, as it were. So yeah, as I've alluded to already, so Nico Dominguez got the ball mid-half, I think. Tried like a nice little dinked pass. I think it was meant to go out to the right, but to start an attack. I think Forest had like a decent start to the game. However, he kind of scuffed it. It hit the back of Sangare and went straight to Paqueta, who's probably West Ham's best player, who just kind of glided to the edge of the 18-yard box and stuck it in the bottom left-hand corner of the net. So, yeah, 1-0, cracking start. I think from there, Forest kind of grew into the game, culminating in just before half-time, Owonyi scoring. Again, it's Sangare who's kind of starting to kind of get into the flow of English football and kind of starting to look like the reason why we got him is like a break up the play, carry the ball, play the pass, and that's basically what he did with this one. Picked up the ball, won the ball in centre mid, carried the ball forward, passed it to Gibbs White, who had a shot on goal. It was parried, and Owonyi, I think when I text you guys, he kind of has this ability of being in the right place at the right time, but making the finish look absolutely shocking. I think he had a header not long before the goal, and you saw the header and you thought, oh, it's a cracking header. It's like a textbook header, and the West Ham keeper saved it. And you're like, oh, man. And then he scores that goal, which kind of just bobbled in a really kind of weird way. So, yeah, half-time, one each. Then 60 minutes, 62 minutes. Again, I think Aina down the side, good attacking move by Forrest, played in, cut back, and Alanga slotted it in. Nice finish. Bit of a wild celebration. Don't know why. Don't know if West Ham fans have been giving him pelters or what, but it was a slightly over-the-top celebration for just taking a 1-goal lead midway through the second half. Shirt off, tracker off, all that kind of thing, booking. Then next thing you know, so then 3 minutes later, and we talked about this on the Saturday. It was a problem last season. I think it was the problem the season before. Forest can't defend set pieces, and when you've got a player like James Ward-Prowse who can deliver a ball on a sixpence, and kind of, as the commentary said, Jared Bowen, who's not the tallest person, and by looking at him, when you look in the box, when the ball is played in, no, 100% is not the tallest person in the box, managed to rise up and head it in, so that was 2 each. And then, spoiler alert, 97 minutes, so 7 minutes of added time, another Ward-Prowse corner, and Souček got on the end of it for Forest to throw away a point, and 3 points really. Kind of reports from from everywhere is that Cooper doesn't lose his shit very often, but apparently it was well and truly lost in the London Stadium on Sunday afternoon, because he was not impressed at all. I think I text you lads criticising him for making defensive substitutions. Slight apology. A worrying one, Murillo is injured, so that's apparently why he took Murillo off and bought Bolly on, which you would have thought, considering he's a tall guy, would have helped with the defending. Not so much. So yeah, 3-2 loss. Disappointing, but a bit of progress as well. Kind of trying to look for that silver lining in it, but still, they threw away a winning position. Probably through over-exuberance on celebrating, going 2-1 up.
Yeah, it's probably one of those weird ones, isn't it? Like for Forest, obviously the main issue last season was scoring goals away from home, and that's absolutely not the case this season. Like, they seem to be able to get the goals on the road and stuff like that, and obviously it's just keeping them out at the other end, which is causing the issue.
It's still the problem.
Yeah, and the Souček goal was just one of those classic ones where it was like, oh god, it's just like someone's obviously had like the breakdown in the communication of who's supposed to be marking what. I don't know if they do. I can't remember if they do man-to-man marking or if they do zonal marking at Forest. I can't remember. But obviously someone.
By the evidence of the way they defend set pieces, neither. Just marking.
Someone blew the assignment anyway, and they were able to work, because he was pretty much unmarked. He was able to get up on the back of somebody else to just plant his header in the back stick. So
I've not seen the Souček goal to kind of really drill down on who missed their assignment on that one. Danilo missed his assignment for the Bowen one. He was marking Bowen, and Bowen just got away from him quickly for his. And I mean, I don't want to make excuses for him. Because I like him, and I think he's a good player. But he is coming back from an injury, and he's been out a while. So I think he'd come on as a substitute as well, not long after at half time for Dominguez. So he kind of lost his man a little bit on that one. But Ward-Prowse does deliver a cracking set piece. So we're always
absolutely. Predictions wise, Mr. Cook was once again the most optimistic here and had gone for a 2-1 Nottingham Forest win. So for a time being, he was bang on the money. He had Antonio to score for West Ham, but Awoniyi and Alanga to score for Forest. So not only did he get one, he got both the goal scorers in the correct order. So 2 points for Mr. Cook for the goal scorers. I'd gone for a 2-2 draw. So if Souček hadn't have popped up in the last minute, I'd have been spawned, which is quite annoying. I'd gone for Bowen and Antonio to score for West Ham, Owonyi and Gibbs-White to score for Forest. So I get myself 2 bonus points from the goal scorers there as well. Stuart and Matt had both gone for 2-1 West Ham wins, so bag themselves a point for the result. They'd both picked Bowen and Antonio to score for West Ham, so a bonus point there. Stuart had picked Owonyi to score for Forest. Matt had picked Gibbs-White to score for Forest. So Stu bags 3 points from that one, Matt 2. Our last game of the week was another game for Andy's boys, Wigan. This one was taking place in the EFL Trophy. I'm sure I'd seen something that it's been given a new sponsor, but I can't for the life of me remember what the new sponsor is. It's not the Papa John's Trophy anymore, which is obviously incredibly frustrating, as who doesn't love a little bit of pizza now and then.
Somebody else getting a slice of the action now, at least.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen, your long-awaited Dad Joke of the Week. Wabash. Whilst Mr. Moore is doing the due diligence that I should have carried out to find the sponsor of that trophy, I'll just go through the predictions. This one it sounded like it was a bit of a dull one and just petered out to a 0-0 draw. In this competition, though, they do play a penalty shootout for a bonus point. They still get the point each for the draw, but they do get a bonus point for whoever wins the penalty shootout. Wigan actually did win the penalty shootout this one, 6-5 on pens. So I've recorded it as a draw because that's what it was to all intents and purposes. I'd gone for a Wigan win. Stu had gone for a Wigan win. Matt had gone for a Wigan win. Andy had gone for a Tranmere win. So no one gets any points because no one backed the draw. So the points stay as they were. Mr. Moore.
The Bristol Street Motors Trophy.
That's what it was. A sponsor that no one's going to know what it means. But there you are. So, all that means is that for the week, after 5 games, I came last, sadly, with a whopping 3 points. Matt got 5 points for the week, so a point per game on average. Stu ended the week with 7 points. Very, very, very well done. But Andy does take the win with 9 points. Obviously, 6 of that taken from the very first game. So, Andy gets the win this week with 9 points. But that puts an end to week 15. We have got week 16's predictions to do, and it is international week this week. So only England games to cover, sadly. So there's only 2 of those, so not as many predictions for us to go through. We are going to take a small break just to maybe think about what we've all put down as our predictions. Then we'll go through those in the second half of the podcast. Don't you touch that dial though. We'll be right back after this short interlude.
Recording in progress.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back on in, ladies and gentlemen. So, week 15 done and dusted in the books. Week 16, as we said before, international break. So no Middlesbrough, no Forest, no Hull games, not even any Wigan games for us to discuss. So it's just England we're going to talk about this week. So, England have 2 European Championship 2024 qualifiers to play. Now, I can already hear some of you crying, but Paul, didn't they already qualify for that tournament a couple of weeks ago? And you'd be absolutely correct in thinking that. Yes, they had. They qualified with 2 games to spare, but obviously they can't just not turn up. They can't just not turn up for those games. They have to do it. They have to play them still. So the first of those games, we'll see England versus world powerhouse of football, Malta. Tough game for England. That's why they've picked a strong squad. What do we think, lads, is going to be the outcome of England versus Malta? I can only presume it's double figures in the Malta scoring column, yes? Let's go to Mr. Moore for the first pick of week 16. What have you got, sir?
So I was just checking to see if they were actually playing it at Wembley Stadium. They are playing it at Wembley Stadium.
Oh, yes.
I mean, if it's full, I'd be shocked. I mean, why on earth you would pay any money to go and watch that? I genuinely, it could be in my back garden and I might shut the curtains for this one.
It'll be full because they'll be giving loads of tickets away to like kids' football teams and schools and stuff.
I don't have a problem with that, though.
No.
But it'll be full.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you speak to Tony Khan, there'll be lots of connections for them to hand out tickets to. I mean, that's Paul's rumour. I have gone for a 7-0 England win, and I think I've probably gone a little bit shy on the score, to be honest.
Goal scorers?
Captain Stat Padder for 3. Harry Kane, if anyone was unsure.
Yeah.
I've got Ollie Watkins getting a couple as well coming on. Perhaps him getting a couple later on.
Yeah.
Maybe one for Cole Palmer making his debut.
Yeah.
And one for Declan Rice. I was just like, it was names out of a hat, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you won't be surprised if he uses this game as an opportunity to have a look at some of the fringe players that he might not know whether he wants to take to the European Championships or not. But one thing you can guarantee is that Captain Kane will indeed start, maybe not finish the game. Andy, what have you gone for in this first of 2 mammoth tasks for England?
I just went with a 2-0 for England.
Goal scorers?
Kane, and I've gone with Rashford for t'other one.
Now, I did read something today that said apparently Marcus Rashford and everyone's favourite holding midfielder who's definitely playing week in and week out, of course, that would be Calvin Phillips, were scheduled to join up with the squad later in the week due to family reasons. But I don't think that would affect his being ready to play, to be fair. He's fit. He's playing for his club side, so I would imagine, well, it doesn't even matter, does it? If you're in the England squad, you don't even have to be playing for your club side, apparently. But don't worry about that, because he definitely picks on form. Raheem Sterling. He definitely picks on form, so that's fine. Stu, what have you got for this one?
I've got a conservative England 3, Malta 0. I'm actually not sure if Kane will start because he didn't last time. I think they brought him on. I wonder if he's maybe either learnt that lesson or if perhaps now that he's gone to Germany, he's factoring in the travel and all the rest of it potentially. Who knows? But yeah, I've gone for Bowen, Foden and Watkins on the basis of I think it'll be two of the newer guys and one of the younger guys who gets in and out of the team sort of fairly regularly. So I think they'll. I think all 3 of those will probably start the game. So yeah, I've gone for effectively a striker and 2 attacking midfielders. Yeah,
can't disagree with it, to be honest with you. I have gone very similar. I've kind of gone in the middle of you all, really. I've gone for a 5-0. I disagree. I think Kane will start. He's the captain, so if he's fit, he probably starts. Get this one out of the way, then give him the rest for the North Macedonia game, which we'll come to in a second. So I've gone for Kane to get a hat-trick, same as Matt. And then I've gone for 1 each for Watkins and Bowen. I imagine it's the sort of game where you'd like to think that if he starts him, maybe Bowen can get a goal to sort of get that monkey off his back, and then he can start to play for England like he plays for West Ham, and has played for Hull in the past, dare we say.
Yeah, indeed.
As I've just said there, our second and final game of the week sees North Macedonia taking on England. Similar again for me. I think it's a fairly straight. Should be a fairly straightforward one for England, to be honest with you. Shouldn't have too much to worry about. And if they don't, it's not the end of the world if they lose it. But I have gone for them to win 3-0 on this one. I've gone for Rashford, Saka and Rice to get the goals. Andy, what have you got for this one?
Same again, 2-0 England. I've got Kane again, but I've also got Saka.
Matt?
I've also gone for a 3-0 England win.
Goal scorers?
Captain Stat Padder. Bowen. And Grealish.
Jack, Carnes, Grealish. Stu, you have the honour of giving us the last prediction of the week.
Bit of a mix and match of all of it. Again, I've gone North Macedonia 0, England 2, and I've got Rashford and, feel dirty saying it, but Jack Grealish as well.
I used to dislike Grealish, and then for some reason he seemed to actually sort of start putting the effort in his second season at Man City, and I've kind of come round to the idea that he's actually not that bad now, to be honest with you.
He seems like a decent guy off the pitch. I think that's the thing that's kind of turned it round for me more. He seems to just... It sounds daft because... And it's like when you say it, I think, oh yeah, he loves being a footballer. But he seems to genuinely love being a footballer and not the kind of twatty... I mean, he likes the lifestyle and the fancy cars and the fancy clothes and all that kind of thing, but he just seems to like being a footballer. He just seems to really kind of like, and the kind of community stuff as well. I think that's the thing that turned me around. Like, he seems to just be a nice guy.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what all his mates from back home would say when they the first time they saw him wearing a bloody Alice band on TV, though, because I can't imagine that he wouldn't have caught for something for that. But regardless, he's one of them players where he'll forever be noted as a decent footballer, but he'll be better when he plays for your team than against your team because he's a niggly little person. It's the Jack Russell element, isn't it? But
well, yeah, I suppose that's true.
It's the foul buying would be the kind of side of it.
Do you know what? I would have, about a year and a half ago, I would have agreed on that one. But when you watch some games, he doesn't get booted. To be fair,
he does get booted, but he also does this stopping, like dribbling, and then stopping all of a sudden, and then is like, oh no, I got fouled again.
I thought Matt was going to go, yeah, he does get booted, but he doesn't half deserve it. Was what I thought that was going there for a second.
So that's all our predictions done. One side note, just from a personal perspective, I will be in attendance at a game this weekend. However, it is not in the Football League. It is, of course, the return of York City versus Hartlepool United in the league for the first time in 7 years. Ooh. I can hear everyone collectively holding their breath with excitement. Yes, obviously, York and Hartlepool have not been in the same division for a number of years now. However, York getting promoted 2 seasons ago, and sadly, Hartlepool being relegated at the end of last season means they're now both in the Conference National. So this is the first of the 2 meetings this season, and it does take place at York's LNER Community Stadium. And I'll be in attendance with the rest of Clan Williams. This is even the first footballing opportunity for a young Master Williams. He'll be
very nice.
taking his first away game, so that should be quite an experience for him. So we'll have to if the game pans out as a terrible 0-0 or York do a number on pulls, it won't get mentioned next week. But obviously, if it's a good game, I might give my thoughts on it and stuff next week. Obviously, we won't do any predictions on it, as it doesn't really affect the podcast as such. But just thought I'd drop in there that I was actually going to a game this weekend.
Very nice. I put a little bit together based around a text message from Mr. Cook earlier in the day about where we are now.
Yes, I was just going to bring that up. Obviously, Mr. Cook has suggested that with it being an international break and obviously not having too many predictions to go through, we each take a little time to sort of go through like a little bit of a mid-season report, as it were, what our teams are doing, what they can do better, where they need to improve, where they've been good, all that sort of jazz. If you've got yours ready to go, you dive in, sir.
So, I'm not shy about telling you how I feel about the way that they play at times. But I think this was quite an eye-opener in terms of me taking a bit of stock in some respects, because I actually looked up where we were in the table at this time last year. So, bear in mind, like I said before, Liam Rossini has now been in charge for a year. He's had 2 solid transfer windows to get bodies in and out, sort of shape the team a little bit more as he wants it. So this time last year we were 20th. Currently, Hull sit in 8th, level on points with 6th, so level on points with the playoffs. So very, very happy with the league position. That's not a drama at all. The team seemingly all know how Liam Rossini wants to play, even if we can't do it for 90 minutes every week just yet. But it's getting there. I suppose it's always been a bit of a work in progress, but in terms of where can we improve, absolutely desperate for a left back that can defend. We've got left backs that can attack, not a problem there. But whether it's Vinagre just clearing off into the front row of the stand because he just doesn't seem to stop going forwards, or Cyrus Christie going up and then having a little rest before he comes back again. Some might deem that unfair. He's a big lad, like he's good at what he does, but he leaves gaps. Some people will say that we have that on the right as well, because Coyle does the same. Although one thing I have noticed from last season to this season is that he seems, on the right, Coyle seems to have had an instruction of, once you've got to the halfway line, couple of more metres and then you stop. He used to bomb the full length of the pitch if you'd let him, and now he doesn't. He seems to get to that point and sort of have a look around, and rather than trying to keep skinning him down the right and put the ball in, he's looking for a pass just over the halfway line. So something has changed in that regard. So he's not leaving quite as much of a gap at right back. Genuinely, as things are going, if they really want to, they could make a push for playoffs. I don't think anywhere near the top 2 would ever be anywhere near realistic. But if they really want to push for the playoffs, they're going to have to get the right people in through the door in January. Who those right people are, I have no idea. That's what Rossini's job is. Plus, there'll clearly be some scouting going on in the Turkish league somewhere, or players that used to play in Turkey. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, a couple of strikers and a left back I'd be very happy with. As much as it pains me to say this, Connolly came on at the weekend as a substitute and got taken off again because he got injured again. So I'm not. He didn't stub his toe this time though. It was an actual legitimate thing. But that worries me because he's not going to be your main striker out and out. He's best used as an impact player, I think. We need somebody that can start up front with Delap, not somebody that's just constantly having to support the one player. Somebody who can rotate at the front and one of them take the lead, then one drop back, and so on and so forth. But yeah, quite happy at the moment. Left back, 2 strikers, and a plan B from passing out from the back every time would be nice, but other than that, pretty happy, to be honest.
Very nice. I'll carry on. We might as well stick in the Championship, and we'll leave the big boys of the Premier League to finish off the podcast, shall we? I'd say I'd probably echo most of what you said there, but for the Borough. So, I mean, given how catastrophic the start of the season was, obviously, so pre-season they were being talked about as, second favourites to win the league, up there with the teams that had come down as the favourites to even win the division and stuff like that. It was looking like it was basically playoffs as an absolute minimum, but there was talk, obviously, they could be one of the ones that were looking at automatic promotion. And to say that they'd lost, I think it was 5 of the first 6. Millwall, Coventry, West Brom, QPR, Blackburn. Yeah, they lost 5 of the first 6 games. After 6 games, they had 1 point on the board, which was a home draw with Huddersfield. And considering how terrible they've been, it wasn't looking great. They then got a draw against Sheffield Wednesday, and then since then, they've only actually lost once. That was the 2-0 reverse at home to Stoke, which came a bit out of the blue, but was a blip. And they've since been able to obviously bounce back and beaten the team that's currently top of the league and looked like they were running away with them. So to say how bad the start to the season was, to say that they're now currently in 10th position, 2 points off Hull, and therefore 2 points again off the playoffs. I'd say it's been a remarkably good turnaround, and obviously the thing that I think a lot of people failed to take into account was the sheer amount of turnover of players. Obviously, the players that when Carrick came in last season, he had to obviously make do with what he had until the January transfer window, when he brought in the likes of Cameron Archer up top, Aaron Ramsey to play in behind, and a couple of others here and there. The left back changed. They've lost one of the centre halves that was playing last season. They've had an awful lot of change in the team. Obviously, you take out the 28 goals that Chuba Akpom scored in the league. They were always going to struggle at the start of the season because they had to bed in the new players. That seems to have happened now, and obviously the teams, the players that they've got now seem to be used to playing the style of football that Carrick's wanting them to play. And as we discussed with the Leicester game, they even had the option to play not on the front foot, let Leicester dictate the sort of the play, soak up the pressure, and then obviously they've hit him on the counter attack by getting the free kick in the dangerous area, and Sam Greenwood's absolutely spanked it in the back of the net. So I think very similarly to Hull, they're very short in the striking areas. They've literally got 2 strikers on the books that can play as the front guy, Coburn and Latte Lath, and it seems to be whoever starts, the other one will come on from around the sort of 60 to 65 minute mark. So I would be very, very surprised if they don't go in for at least 1, if not 2, striking options in the January transfer window, potentially making Greenwood's loan a permanent if they're able to do that, and then just a couple of decent acquisitions maybe in the centre of the park to take a bit of the strain off Hayden Hackney, because he's pretty much playing every game unless he's suspended. Yeah, I think it's all shaping up nicely. If they can just keep on this run of getting sort of like 2 points from every game, it sort of seems to sort of average out at from the last sort of like 10, then they should be there or thereabouts for playoffs. And if one of Leicester, Ipswich or Leeds do sort of drop off, they might be able to sort of capitalise and get into that second position. But I'd say similar to Stu, happy with how it's gone so far, and I'll pass over to Matthew to, for want of a better phrase, finish us off.
I just did a quick kind of look there. So after 12 games it was kind of surprising, to be honest, because I thought there was going to be a massive difference between where we are at this point in this season, where we were last season. But actually, after 12 games last season, we were on 9 points. We're on 13 now. But we're 7 points above the relegation zone, whereas we were bottom after 12 games last year. With a goal difference of -15, it's -4 now. And we're 3 points away from 10th. So, I know I come on the podcast sometimes and I'm a bit kind of miserable about it. But I think as a team, they are making progress. There's, like we said earlier, they're scoring goals away, which last season, it was a constant fucking thing on every single commentary, every punditry thing about they haven't scored away from home since that thing is out the window. Still, obviously they've got the home form still the key. I think when they're at home, they're confident. The kind of the way that Forest, the way Forest play suits home. They kind of, they've got to shore things up and pick the odd point up here and there away from home, and I think they will start to do that against the teams that are around them. I think, I've said it a few times already. I think it's the influx of players. It's another 14 players that came in over the summer. Who knows how many will come in the January window? Hopefully not too many, because I don't think we actually need them many. I think we probably need a defender and maybe a striker, which I know is like, right, okay, let's go and get a striker. That's dead easy to do. But I think those two things, because if Taiwo gets injured, we're screwed. And spoiler alert, he's going to the Africa Cup of Nations for 4 or 5 weeks. So that'll be the kind of thing. I just don't think Wood was starting to show signs of settling in at Forest before he got injured. Origi is, some of the photos that you see of him, he has been enjoying the Italian lifestyle, shall we say. Pizza and pasta has definitely suited him lifestyle-wise. Maybe not career football kind of wise. Stout would be a phrase I would use. But yeah, so I think some players are really settling in. Alanga's starting to look like he's settling into the team. Fangare and Dominguez look good. Aside mistakes from this weekend aside, hopefully Gibbs White will start. He's had a really poor start to the season. He seems to really kind of come into the season with a bit of a hangover from the England under-21s and stuff like that. Hopefully he can settle down a bit. Danilo coming back is going to be key, I think. But yeah, if you would have asked me like a couple of weeks ago, I'd have been like, yeah, whoa, let's go, kind of thing. I think the past 2-3 weeks have kind of tempered that enthusiasm a little bit. I think there's a kind of, right, okay, these next 5 games, we've got some big games against some teams that are around us or teams that we should be aiming towards. Everton, Brighton, Fulham, I think, are coming up, and another team. We've got the Spuds at the end of that 5-match run. But I think the next 4 or 5 games are going to be really telling to see where our season's going. Is it going to go upwards, or is it going to stay about where it is, or is it going to turn into possibly a relegation fight, which would be a worry? Because then the trigger-happy owner might come out of the storage, shall we say.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Mr. Moore, for the little update there. Thank you, Stu, for your whole update. Like you say, nice idea by Andy there, just to give you a little update as to how we're sort of feeling. And probably for the first time ever on the podcast, generally positive across the board. Nice change. Thank you once again, gents, for joining me to go through the ins and outs, ups and downs of our respective clubs. Thank you to all of you listeners and watchers. Thanks very much. Get in touch. Let us know. Do you want to? Should we talk more about the goings on at the club rather than just the games? Let us know. Let us know of any changes you'd like us to make to the show. But that'll do it for another week. Join us again next week where we'll go through the England games. Hopefully, if it's a whopping Pools win, I'll get to recant all of the goals, blow by blow, minute by minute. But obviously, if York had won, then that game never existed. So, but we'll see. Thanks again once again, and until next week, we'll see you later. Party ball.
So there we go. What do you think of that? Something a little bit different this week. It's always good to mix it up, keep it fresh. Before we go, just want to thank you for being here, listening, watching, being a part of it. If I can ask you a couple of favours, please do like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we've got some social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.